You are so weird.
Does she have a lot of problems?
It's nothing too concerning.
What's this?
New prop for work. Spirit, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. And we can see you.
Who are you talking to, Doris?
Daddy, are you there? Who are you?
Everybody, welcome to What the Flick. It's Halloween time, which means time for a sequel, or prequel in this case, actually, to Ouija. Christy, Alonzo, clean-shaven Matt Atchity.
This is his Halloween costume.
Fresh and clean.
Fresh and so clean.
As shocking as my chin is, the more shocking thing is that we are going to cover Ouija without a Ouija board.
Oh, that didn't even occur to me.
Shoot.
Because I'm not into like
We have
gimmicky
failed.
shtick here. Not
We
like
have
you guys,
failed.
right? So Ouija is, and it's a prequel. I never saw the actual Ouija movie. Did you guys ever see
No.
that?
I did.
Did you?
Didn't-
Okay.
I'm one of the few people that didn't mind it. Like, people really shat on it because I think if you're an actual horror person, it was a waste of time. But I'm not an actual horror person. I'm like, if you're an 11-year-old at a slumber party and you need a little some mild scaring, this is the movie to do it.
Well, you know what? I would say that Ouija, Origin of Evil, is an actual horror movie because it is very scary and very, very tense. So this is a prequel. It takes place in 1967 in Los Angeles, and Elizabeth Reaser is a widowed mother of 2 daughters. She is a fortune teller. She may or may not have actual abilities to reach spirits and ghosts and whatever. But then one day she brings home this hot new trendy game called Ouija board, and strange things start happening with her younger daughter, played chillingly by Lulu Wilson. Take a look.
Something is wrong with Doris. She's experiencing something amazing.
I believe she is channeling powers we do not understand.
Doris. Doris! Are you there? Are you there?
Yes.
It's funny that this falls under the umbrella of like Hasbro adaptations. Because, you
Like
know, like
Transformers.
the Transformers movies, you're supposed to then want to go home and buy like all the little robots and whatever. The Ouija movies are like, yes, come buy our board game and open a portal to hell.
However, thank you for bringing that up, though, because now I want the crossover between Transformers and Ouija.
Send them all to hell. No, that I'm
we don't
fine
want to
with.
bring them back.
No, but it's just a weird, like, kind of broad product placement where, like, it's always this instrument of something really terrible. Bad shit starts happening when people use a Ouija board. I'm like, and this is how we're going to
Well,
promote
because
it?
they
Okay.
didn't follow the rules.
Well, exactly, yes. there you
So
go.
I had a blast at this movie, and I just cackled
Yeah.
and had so much fun. I had no expectations. I was like,
We were giggling.
All right,
Yeah.
and we were sober. And I was like, should we
Well.
go? I had only 1 glass of wine. That's like breakfast. That's not like anything that changes me. So I had no expectations. I was like borderline, like, should I even go? And I got a babysitter and I made it work. And I'm so glad I did because we had so much fun.
Absolutely.
And it does everything you wanted to do, is beautifully shot. Okay, so here's a question. I should know the answer to this. What's that thing where the stuff in the foreground and stuff in the background are both in focus? What's that called?
Like deep focus.
Okay, so they do that chillingly, which is sort of like a 70s kind of.
Yeah, actually, like Frankenheimer did that a lot in his films, right? Like you'd see that a lot in John Frankenheimer films, and you'd see somebody in the foreground make a face, like reacting to somebody way off in the background, but they're both in focus.
If Ben were here, he would tell you that Citizen Kane really kind of pioneered that effect. But
you don't see it very often.
Yes.
And when they use it, and they use it pretty early on, it sets a tone just of like putting you on edge in looking at this house. It's a creepy old house, which we've seen a million times, creepy old Victorian, but we're going to look at it from different perspectives. And they set that tone from the very, very start. The little girl in it, Lulu Wilson, I mentioned, she's amazing because she's got this like adorable little Cupid doll look about her, the perfect little flip in her hair. And it's it's truly deeply disturbing what happens with her.
Yeah, it gets very creepy, and there's some, I mean, the performances are universally really good. Elizabeth Reaser, I think, plays this. You really empathize with this woman who
she's in the Twilight movies.
Right, she's in Young Adult. You know, she plays this kind of phony psychic, but you really kind of relate to her and her issues. You know, raising these two young daughters. Henry Thomas pops up as the local priest, who's more sympathetic to things than you might imagine. But it is genuinely chilling. And there's also kind of a fun retro thing going on. It's set in 1967 because it's a prequel to the first, Ouija movie, and we find out where the character played by Lynn Shay in Ouija came from. And so, because it's set in '67, they trot out the old Universal spinning globe logo. They the title card has like the copyright at the bottom. Like, this is all stuff that we saw in Grindhouse. But they even trot out the cigarette burns in the corner at the real changes. I'm like, this is a digital movie. That's kind of a fun touch.
I'm glad you point that stuff out, because what that tells me is that you've got somebody who's into that and is going to put those little Easter eggs in for film nerds, means that they care about or at least implies that they care about their craft, right?
Well, it's Mike Flanagan directed. He did Oculus and Before I Wake.
Right, and it's great to see a movie like this. Look, like the first one of these is clearly kind of a throwaway movie, and we see plenty of movies that people are just slapping them together. Somebody cared about this one, and it shows. Yeah. And this movie is legit scary. There's a lot of moments in here that you're just tense and you know it's coming. Oh God, here it comes. And I like this a lot. And it kind of goes in different directions that you don't really expect. The two young actresses are very good on their own. Like, you're not getting, the little girl, Lulu Wilson, is great. Like, she's really creepy. She kind of carries what she needs to do.
Annalise Basso plays
Annalise Basso. We get a brief shot of Doug Jones in here. You don't recognize him, right? But it's Doug Jones.
Yeah.
And, anyone casting Doug Jones, hey, you half the battle right there. I like this movie a lot. It's super scary. I do want to point out, and I turned to you at one point in the movie and mentioned this, like something about Annalise Basso, or the character's name is
Lena.
Lena, right?
Lena and Doris are the daughters.
Right. So Lena, the teenage girl going to the private school, seems to have taken 4 or 5 inches off of her skirt as opposed to everyone else in uniform.
It was the 60s. It was the 60s, and she's wearing a miniskirt.
Right, but everyone else at school seems to be applying,
she thinks for
adhering to the
private school
code.
Girls I knew used to would roll the waist.
No, I know. It was a little like.
I will say, though, to your point about the really cool retro details, they don't do it so much that it becomes a parody like Grindhouse. Right. They do it just enough to make it seem immersive and authentic, but not like wink, wink, ha, ha. We've seen a lot of old movies in our lives. So
well, and it's funny, we talk about the whole paradigm of like, if you're a guy who directs like a Sundance hit, then you get handed the keys to some big franchise, like, when Colin Trevorrow and Jurassic World. I do like the idea of, if you are Blumhouse and or Michael Bay, who are the people behind this thing, and you're making a sequel to a low-budget horror movie that worked, and so the second one pretty much has kind of a built-in audience, why not reach out and get one of the cool indie horror people to do it, which is what they did. And so, hats off to them. Frankly, Ouija Origin of Evil is 10 times better than the Blair Witch remake that the You're Next, The Guest guys made. So, I like the idea of kind of working your way up the ladder as a horror guy, where you start out with these little scrappy indies, and then you get to do like a studio movie that people see in big numbers and appreciate.
This will do pretty well, I think. It's we'll get to our numbers, but it's at like 87% on the tomato meter, which is pretty high for a horror movie. So what are your numbers? I'm saying 8.3. I had a blast. You guys?
I said 7.5.
Yeah, I think, what did I give it?
You said 8.
8, yeah,
you
8.
Like your
it's
8?
Great. I like it a lot. Have I seen better movies? Sure, but this is very effective, very scary. I will, a note for the kind of gore fans out there, like, this is not that type of horror movie, right? This is the one that it's atmospheric and it's scary. They're not it's not a slasher film.
No. It's PG-13, right?
It's PG-13.
Right.
A
lot of times we complain about the PG-13 horror movie because clearly it's an R-rated horror movie that's been dialed back, whereas this one to me felt more like a PG horror movie that's been dialed up a little. Yeah. So I think that there's a difference, and you can tell when a movie's sort of pulling its punches and cutting away. This one I think is very sort of judicious about what it shows you and what it doesn't. And, and like I said, these are good sort of slumber party horror movies.
Right,
and
but
they
PG-13,
really
take the kids, give them nightmares.
Oh my God! Trauma. All right. So our number is a 7.9. Is 87% on the tomato meter. If you want a good, scary Halloween horror movie, here you go. Bye.